Greetings. This is the GNN France News. I'm Emmeline Bourdon. Today's report we will talk about parents who infamously abusing their own children. There are some parents who punish their child way too far, treating them that they are worse than Hitler. Punishing over a minor mistake. And even the most worst part of all, the infamous one that they give their child a punishment day. Which it's very child abuse. Along with people who are involved in it and also helping them out. The punishments they give are very cruel and painful. For an example, they force their child to drink hot sauce, negative cold or a very hot shower, pepper spraying their eyes, belt beatings, getting expired foods and drinks, or even disgusting ones like urine and scants. There are some violence ones like running them over with a car, drilling in their ear, getting them attacked by wild animals, beating them up with weapons, throwing rocks or brick to their head, putting gasoline on them to set on fire, cutting their fingers or any body parts off, which it's very painful that any child can feel. Other ones that can cause death is electrocution, pushing off from buildings or cliffs, eating or drinking stuff that are poison or toxic, stabbing, or even murdering them. Some others are that their parents destroying their rooms, embarrassing them on social medias, causing them having depression, psychological trauma, and having their terrible lives they can't handle anymore. And other punishments. The child victims who are abused by parents are Dora Marquez, Little Bill Glover, Caillou, Satari Ashima, and other more child victims. The parents are identified are Elena, Cole, and Abula Marquez, Boris and Doris, Big Bill, Brenda, and Alice Glover, Rihanna and Rokashi Ashima, and other more will be identified. Parents will find out soon. The sibling and other family who are involved in their punishments are identified are Rosie, Bobby and April Glover, Diego Marquez and his father. The child victims are also having abuse times at their school. Their teachers, students, and principal are also involved in their punishments too. The teachers are identified are Amber Christina, Ann Martin, Mr. George, and Aisha Marie Clinkscales. The principals are identified are Mr. Cherry, Mrs. Clementine and Miss Vesica. And the students are also identified are Gina Delgado, who's been snitching on Dora for years, Gab and Kevin. Their last names are unknown. They are Dora's classmates. Caillou's classmates are Leo, Sarah and Clementine. Little Bill's classmates are Andrew Mulligan, Kika Wong, and Fuchsia Glover. Even though Fuchsia is Little Bill's cousin. And Satari's terrible classmate Sheena. Those are the suspects who are giving Dora, Caillou, Little Bill, and Satari the worst life. We will show the video coverage where these child victims were tortured by their parents. But this will be very disturbing and heartbreaking to watch. The video we see where Big Bill puts Little Bill's face in the water with bleach which cause skin to burn and tearing. Cole pouring honey on Dora and Caillou and covered with honey in the cage, where they were getting stung by the bees. They managed to survive but almost got killed. Caillou was getting maured by his psychopath father. He could have nearly killed him and he would have been charged with murder along with his wife and dog there. Dora was about to get beaten up with spike bats by her family, classmates, teacher and the principal. I almost forgot that this person who is also involved who is identified is Mrs. Delgado, Gina Delgado's mother who's also a suspect. Here's some images that we can't show in raw footage. Here's a raw image of Caillou is about to be crushed by a piano by his father. Little Bill tied up in a punching bag where his parents used him to beat him up. Amber and Mr. Cherry was about to cut Dora's eyes off. Doris puts the blender on Caillou's face by severely injured him. Big Bill pouring Clorox bleach in his son's eyes causing it to burn. Elena drags Dora to the fan to get her hair torn off. This caused her head severely injured. Doris pepper spraying Caillou's eyes. Dora and Caillou were about to be burned by their parents by using a blowtorch. Brenda held Little Bill for her husband to force him to eat a glass ornament, which it caused his mouth severely injured and broken teeth. Gina and Gab drills Dora's ears inside and severely injured her eardrums. Dora and Caillou were about to be hit by the axes by their mothers. Dora was about to be killed by her family by using a firework to launch her into the air, resulting in a firework display of death. Big Bill was about to run over Little Bill with a bulldozer, which this will cause death. Mrs. Delgado hits Dora with a spike block. Elena and Cole were about to shave Dora's hair off with the knives and injured her head. Little Bill was tied in a target circle and was about to be shot dead by his family. And Dora was forced by her family along with her cousin and uncle to sip the ant mountain with ants inside. This is a serious condition and worst punishment of all. During an ant bites in her body, the ants will grab her skin with its pinchers and release a chemical called formic acid into her skin. And she could have experienced an allergic reaction from the ant bites. Some ants will sting and inject venom into her skin, and could cause her death. After they were finished with their punishments and killed, their parents would do something with their bodies. For an example, Caillou's head was used as a headless shoe. Dora's petrified body was used as a statue. Which it is not amazing. And Caillou, Dora, and Little Bill were used as a display along with Dora's monkey friend Boots, and that will also be charged with animal cruelty. Now I think that's about enough of that, because this will be a lot more heartbreaking and very disturbing for a lot of viewers. Now we will go live with some interviewers. Now we will go on a scene with Ernest Ty, who has the interviewers with him, who wants to say at this matter. Ernest?
Thanks, Emmeline. So, I'm on the scene where I'm close by the forest. The interviews who will go first, named Robert and Marguerite, the parents of the son, Delarabia. So Marguerite and Robert Delarabia, what would you like to say about these parents giving their kids a punishment day?
So, I heard about all this on the GNN America News, where those kids got in trouble and get themselves a punishment day. I would say that this is absolutely child abuse. The way how they did to them is absolutely unacceptable. I saw a gruesome moment with that girl named Dora Marquez was launched in the air with fireworks when her father, Cole Marquez, put the fireworks inside her mouth, and literally exploded. Her face was blown up so bad. Even worse, he and his wife and mother chainsawed her up, seriously injured her so bad, even she lost her eyes because of that. That was seriously cruel and very child abuse I ever saw in my life. These parents are seriously mentally ill.
Yeah. These people are just sick. I even saw that little boy named Caillou was pushed into the vent fan and got injured so bad by insane mother named Doris. I was so shocked. His sister also threw a pumpkin in his big brother's butt so hard. Literally hurt him so bad and caused him to crap his pants, and even his blood came out. What a horrible sister. I feel so heartbroken and feel really bad for that little boy and also the other children who abused by their insane parents. They need justice.
So Marguerite and Robert Delarabia, do you ever allow this under that to your son?
No, why would we? Odd is a good kid. If he got in trouble, then we would ground him, but not a punishment day like this. We would be in big trouble if we do that. We never will.
Yeah. Not ever. I hope these parents get arrested for child abuse and cruelty, murder and torture. We also like to see them in person in court if they are found. That's all we say.
Thank you Marguerite and Robert Delarabia for your time. Now we have the next interviewer, is a father of Jeremy Bell Playa, Michael. Michael Bell Playa, what would you like to say about these parents giving their kids a punishment day?
For my answer, I find this extremely outrage. Doing that is very torture and extremely cruel. I saw a very unsettling moment where that boy, little Bill Glover, was forced to go in the oven by his parents, Big Bill and Brenda, by burning him alive. Like what the hell? Are they like trying to cook him into human meat? That's horrific. At least he was okay. But then it got more worse by he was trying to take a shower, but his parents used poop to shower him to cool off. That is very disgusting. How the hell did they put poop in the shower? That's very gross. I can imagine how little Bill feels that he smells so bad. He did not deserve all this. Not even the other kids.
Michael Bell Playa, do you ever allow this under that to your son?
Absolutely not. My son is a very good child. He got straight A's at school, but not good at PE, but I understand he's not good at it. He never got in trouble. I would punish him if he does. But not like this one. Thankfully he doesn't. He a smart kid and already graduated from his school. I hope these parents get lockup. That's all.
Thank you, Michael Belplant, for your time. Now we have the next interviewers is Ulrich Stern's parents, Walter and Mrs. Stern. Now Walter and Mrs. Stern, what would you like to say about these parents giving their kids a punishment day?
For your question, I find this extremely atrocious and outrageous. Don't they realize that's a crime and they would be charged with cruelty and child abuse? That also counts as assault, torture, and murder. They can really be thrown in jail for the rest of their lives, or face death penalty for execution. I saw this little boy named Little Bill was chased by his family after de-storying church with the weapon with him, and was trapped at a dead end and was killed by his family. And the worst of all that, they hanged his body up in the cross after they killed their son. This type of behavior is mocking the death of Jesus Christ, and is very offensive to every Christians in the world. I've never been so furious when this family did that. They're going to regret that sin when they die. That family are such psychopaths, freaks and child-abusing criminals.
Agreed. I even saw that poor boy named Caillou was tortured by his dad, Boris. I've never been so ashamed of that man torturing his son. I feel very bad for that little boy, as even more worse and heartbreaking, Boris forced his son to kill his own cat named Gilbert. Has he lost his mind or what? What he did is animal cruelty. Does he realize he went too far for that? That made me so angry. I can feel that little boy Caillou is feeling upset. I understand he didn't want to kill his cat. But his psychopath father will make it worse if he doesn't do it. Screw him for that. That goes to his family and other child abusers.
Now Walter and Mrs. Stern, do you ever allow this and that to your son?
Hell no. We will never do that. I only scolded my son because of his poor grades he had in school. But gladly he catched up and graduated from there. Thank God I would never do that. Right now I'm proud of him and he plays against a team at soccer at school. And that makes me really proud of him. And I also really want to see this child abusing parents in person. So I can give them a lot of yelling and scolding them for the crimes they did to their children and treating them like hell. We're done with this interview. We're out.
Thank you Walter and Mrs. Stern for your time. Next, we have the Japanese parents of Iimi and Hiroki Ishiyama, Teko and Ekiko. Teko and Ekiko Ishiyama, what would you like to say about these parents giving their kids a punishment day?
As if my answer, we find this very disgraceful, that type of this stuff to child and child abuse. I understand where kids can get in trouble, but doing that is just way too far. I saw this poor kid named Little Bill was being tortured by his family. One of the worst punishments I saw that Little Bill was forced to drink Tide Pods by their family. Tide Pods? Are they crazy or what? Tide Pods are very dangerous stuff that contains toxic and can get you very sick and ended up in surgery for weeks or months or possibly die. He could have ended up in a hospital for surgery or could have been killed thanks to his family. They ought to be ashamed of themselves for doing that to him. That's just way too far.
I agree with my husband. I even seen an embarrassing video of that poor girl named Dora Marquez, throwing a fit, shamed, and humiliated by her family along with people who were involved in her punishment day on social media. It got so many views and people find it funny? Like what the hell? That was not funny at all. I find this very heartbreaking and it breaks my heart to see Dora like that, especially with her injuries I saw. She did not deserve all this torture. This incident also happened on the day of her birthday. How heartbreaking. Punish on her birthday. I hope this video gets taken down. Those people on social media should be ashamed. That goes to her family and people who were involved in her punishment. They should be arrested for this. Dora Marquez need justice and also the abused children as well.
Teko and Ekiko Ishiyama, do you ever allow this and that to your kids?
Never for the rest of our lives. We would be awful parents and be child abusers to them. They are really good kids. Yumi something gets in trouble when she comes home late. When she out with her boyfriend that long, possibly in trouble at school. We usually get worried about her, but not with a punishment like this. Hiroki is a good son. Can be a little troublemaker sometimes. He and Yumi don't get along that much, but still cared about each other. I hope these people were found and arrested. I also want to see them in person for what they did to their children. That's all we have to say for this interview.
Thanks Teko and Epiko Ishiyama for your time. And last but not least, the parents of our former classmate, William Dunbar. James and Mrs. Dunbar. James and Mrs. Dunbar. What would you like to say about these parents giving their kids a punishment day?
I find this stuff very unacceptable and child abuse. They should realize this type of behavior is getting out of hand and doing way too far. They can go to jail for life or execution. Not to mention I saw a disturbing moment where the girl named Dora Marquez was stabbed by her parents with a large glass crack piece to the stomach. That was very painful for her. Are they trying to kill her or what? They could have almost stabbed her to her guts, or even her chest. Using a broken glass is very sharp and dangerous. And can cut your finger.
I agree. I even saw a gross moment where Caillou was raped by his father Boris. Seriously? Was he thinking? He is such a prevent and pedophile to a youngest minor like that. He can get arrested for a sex crime and child abuse. That father sickened me. He can't do that to any children like that. Not even his son. He is such a pedophile. Hope Caillou is okay.
James and Mrs. Dunbar, do you ever allow this and that to your son?
We would never do that to our son. He's a good guy. Back then he had us worried that he hasn't called us for a few weeks, so me and my wife decided to visit our son at school. And began to believe that he wasn't our son. We were to go and call the authorities and running tests to see if he really was our son. However, he did convince us as he has not been himself lately. He had us worried, but we're glad he's okay.
Yeah, and we officially did not punish him, but not like this one. We just wanted to make sure he's okay, and told us the truth that he's not himself. I hope these parents get locked up for good for what they did to their children. That's all we have to say. We are leaving now.
Thank you James and Mrs. Dunbar for your time. So that's all the interviews we have here of this area. Back to you Emmeline.
Thank you Ernest. We still have more interviews around, but we will head to the next scene with the protests in Caddick Street first. Now we go live with Celine Roche who's on the protest scene close by Caddick Academy. Celine?
Here I am Emmeline. Anyways, I'm at the scene close by Caddick Academy, where we see the protest chanting about child abusers, hoping to rescue abused children and parents arrested for the crimes they done to their kids. Other parents are also involved in the anti-child abusers protest, demanding to cancel punishment day, wanting to scold the parents in person, threatening to sue them for child abuse, holding signs about stopping child abuse and others, a lot are outraged, demanding to find the parents for committing child abuse. Teachers and school staff are also involved in the protest too. People are supporting hashtag Stop Child Abuse, hashtag Cancel Punishment Days, and other more. Surely I think that's about enough I can say about this matter. Back to you, Emmeline.
Thanks Celine. As you already see there were hundreds of protests around town, hoping the parents get arrested and the abused children are saved, and the signs you see they're holding. And now we are also going live at Paris Airport Le Bourget where the police are heading off to look for the child abusing suspects with Melody Rousseau. Melody, are you there?
I'm here loud and clear on my line. Anyways, here is Paris Airport Le Bourget, where the police are heading off to Blue City, looking for the most wanted criminal or the child abuser. You see some police helicopters already taken off to head to Blue City. Some others are still on land. It's because the other police are getting ready to go. A few are already been taken up and others are ready to go. Now here we have one behind us ready to take off right now. And here goes the last one. Hopefully we'll see updates about the police finding the child abuser soon. Now that's all I have to say for this matter. Now back to you, Emmeline.
Thank you Melody. Now we will show you the child abused victims and wanted criminals. Here's the first child abused victim, Dora Marquez, aged 8. Here are the wanted criminals of the victim Dora Marquez. Here's the criminal names. Now here's the next child abused victim. Caillou, aged 4. Here are the wanted criminals of the victim Caillou. Here's the criminal names. And here's the next child abused victim. Little Bill Glover Jr., aged 5. Here are the wanted criminals of the victim Little Bill Glover Jr. Here's the criminal names. And finally the last child abused victim is Satari Ashima, possibly aged 16. And here are the wanted criminals of the victim Satari Ashima. And finally, here's the criminal names. So those are the child abuse criminals that the police will be looking for in Gossity. If you live in Gossity, this will be send a notification on your phone. If you see these criminals around in Gossity, please call 333-5732273. Again, the number is 333-5732273. If you know their address is, notify the police right away. Now we have more interviewers who will say about this matter. Now we go live with Matthias Pearl, who's at by the comic shop stand with a few interviewers. Matthias, you there?
Here I am, Emmeline. So, I have a few interviewers in line who want to say about this matter. The person who will go first in line is Lynn Loud Sr., the father of 11 children. Now Mr. Loud, what do you like to say about the parents giving their child a punishment day?
Well, I find this very atrocious and very cruel to a child like that. What were they thinking to do that for their own child like this? I understand that a child did something bad or caused trouble. But doing that is way too far. Don't they realize this is child abuse? They just don't even care. The police in Go City did nothing to help them. That is so wrong.
Mr. Loud, do you ever decide to do this to any of your kids at all?
Absolutely not. My wife and I will never do that ever at all. Some of my kids get in trouble, and we ground them. But not like this. I'm hoping those people are arrested for life.
Thank you, Mr. Loud, for your time. Next, we have a young woman from Hawaii, Nani Pelakai, an older sister of her younger sister, Lilo Pelakai. Now Nani, what do you like to say about these parents giving their parents a punishment day?
Well, I say that this is a very outrage for a parent doing to a child like that. I've never been so angry for my life. These parents are like giving their child torture and murder. Don't they ever understand that's child abuse? Nobody didn't even care. That stuff is very serious and could end up in prison for life or face execution on a death chair.
Now Nani, do you ever decided to do that to your sister?
No. I never will. My sister and her alien pet Stitch sometimes get in trouble and messing around the house, but I will never, ever do that to my sister like that. If I did, I would be a terrible sister and could end up getting arrested and lose my sister. I've been taking very good care of her so long ever since our parents died in a car accident. I'm so glad that the police here are now looking for those child abusers. I can't wait for them to be thrown in jail or get executed soon. That's all I will say. Goodbye.
Thank you, Nani, for your time. Next, we have a very kind old lady, Muriel Bag. Now Muriel, what would you like to say about these parents giving their child a punishment day?
I find this very heartbreaking. These poor children being so tortured and abused for their whole life. I'm very ashamed of those parents for what they did to their children. I feel really sorry for those poor children. I understand how they feel and told their parents they hate them and never forgive them for what their parents did. I agree for them.
Now Muriel, if you had children, do you ever decided to do that to them?
No. I would never do it. I'm a very kind lady who's very nice and friendly to everyone, but not to those who are mean. I'm very ashamed of those people doing to their children. I remember my husband Eustace trying to send that poor child away for the award of finding Bigfoot. Luckily the angry mob who are with him would not allow that. turning against and chase him away after that child is reunited with his mother. Thanks to the police here. I'm very happy they are finding those terrible people. After these monsters are turned in and those poor children are safe, I will give them some free cookies and a cup of tea for their support. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Muriel, for your time. Next, we have a dog who is a father who loves his daughter a lot, Doggy Daddy. Now, Doggy Daddy, what would you like to say about these parents giving their child a punishment day? I find this very child abuse. What kind of people came up with this idea? All this is torture, abuse, injuring and also murder. Don't they realize that's way too far? Like seriously? They have no remorse at all. Even they celebrate their deaths. How heartless of them. They never get arrested and the police don't even care at all. So Doggy Daddy, do you ever decided to do that to your daughter at all? Oh heck no. I will never do that to my lovely daughter ever. Not ever. Augie is a good girl and I will never do that in a million years. I'm sure glad the other police here are looking for the child abusers and thrown in jail. I'm hoping I'll see them in court in person once they are captured. I'm done now. I'm out. Thank you, Doggy Daddy, for your time. Next, we have a widower papa bear of a father named Kissifer, Gus. Now Gus, what would you like to say about these parents giving their child a punishment day?
All this is child abuse. I am very ashamed of those parents doing that to a child like that. Injuring, torture, and murder. Doing that to a child is way too far. They can get sentenced to life in prison or death sentence. The other people who are students are involved are bullies and delinquents. I'm hoping these kids are okay.
Now Gus, do you ever decided to do that to your son?
Absolutely never. I love my son. I've taken care of him very well ever since my wife was killed in a circus accident, and we escaped from the circus for a safe place. He's a good little bear. He can get a little bit trouble, but not much. I hope those children get rescued by those abusive parents who don't raise their child well. That's all.
Thank you, Gus, for your time. Next, we have a man from Texas, Hank Hill, a father of Bobby Hill. Now Hank Hill, what do you like to say about these parents giving their child a punishment day?
These bastards are complete child abusers from hell. I've never been so angry about all this torture to a child. My God. They can lose custody to their child and get themselves executed for child abuse and murder. Like what the hell is wrong with those people? They should realize that doing that to a child that caused trouble is going way too far.
Now Hank Hill, do you ever decided to do that to your son?
Hell no. I will never to do such a thing to Bobby. I could ended up like the same thing like those child abusers. He can get into trouble sometimes, but I will never punish him in a way like this. I'm hoping to see those child abusers in person so I can kick their ass. I'm done saying about this matter. Good day.
Thank you, Hank Hill, for your time. And we have the last interviewer, Bob Belcher, the owner of his burger restaurant and a father 3 children, Louise, Tina, and Jean Belcher. Now Bob, what would you to say about these parents giving their child a punishment day?
It's terrible. Those parents should realize it's child abuse. But they don't even give a damn. Not to mention they also kill their own child, which it's murder. I can't believe all this is happening to a child. No one deserved to be abused like that. Those people in the city did nothing to help them. I'm very ashamed of them.
Now Bob, do you ever decided to do that to your kids?
No. And I never will. My kids are very good and they helped me and my wife with our restaurant and we're working well. Even they won't cause they have school, and that's okay. I'm hoping the police here get those child abusers. Goodbye now.
Thank you, Bob, for your time. So that's all the interviewers we have for now. Back to you, Emmeline.
Thank you, Matthias. Now we will also go live inside the news helicopter with Emmanuel Maillard. Mike? You there?
I'm here, Emmeline. So I'm in the new copter heading to Gossity with other news copters following and catching up to the police helicopters. We're over 300 miles ahead to Go City. After when we get there, we will soon go live when the child abusers are found. That's all I will say. Back to you, Emmeline.
Thank you, Emmanuel. And finally, we will go live with Caroline Savarani, who's at the front of the courthouse. Palais de Justice in Paris. You there, Caroline?
Here I am loud and clear, Emmeline. Anyways, here I am in front of the courthouse Palais de Justice, where we see people, police, and the judge getting ready for the trial for those child abusers. People are getting paperwork and police are getting charged in criminal record files. The judge has already got ready and waiting for the child abusers to arrive. He is expecting them to arrive soon as enough, and make sure that everything is secured. Now I believe that's all I said. Now back to you, Emmeline.
Thank you, Caroline. Now we will go on a commercial break. Stay tuned for more news.